MySpace is still good for music and entertainment. If you're in the music and entertainment, Facebook is really the competitor for, I would say, MySpace. And Facebook is more respected right now than MySpace, because MySpace had a lot of spammers, a lot of bad people got on there, and it sort of diminished that engine, especially for business people. But Facebook actually has a center for, you can do a Facebook page, which is almost like a mini site. And basically, again, it's a strategy. How do you want to use that for your corporate identity? I think that's very important for you to think those things through. Because I would recommend LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter as social networking engines that corporations may want to think about. Again, if it fits in with your strategy, you may want to think about being on those places. And then I think you got to think about, and I have actually a handout here, and one of the tips is how many hours do you want to spend a day on keeping up the social networking stuff. We believe, and there's a tip in there, that what you do is you do a plan like you do anything else. You say, okay, in the morning when I get in, I'm going to spend a half an hour, maybe on email or whatever, or a half an hour on Twitter. And then maybe at lunch and maybe at the end of the day. You have to think about your organization. How much time do you really have to spend on this, or do you want to hire somebody to do it for you?
Updated with this, college interns are always looking for experience, and they're usually willing to work for very little, even nothing. I mean, definitely people are willing to work for free for the experience because the business world's so competitive, and a lot of this stuff they can probably even do from their computer at school. And college students are they're very knowledgeable about this stuff too.
I think the one I agree with that totally, but I think from a corporate standpoint, you also have to have a strategy, and you have to have the right content out there, because as many of you know, once it's out there, and your reputation is at stake. So, yes, certainly the younger people do know how to use the tools. It's the marketing intelligence and the strategy that you need to have as a combination. So I agree, as long as you have somebody helping you determine what is the corporate strategy, who's the expert in the field. Because you'll see a lot of these people on Twitter are the leading edge people in their industry. They're not just anybody, but they're Matt Cutts, they're Danny Sullivan, they're, Lee Auden, these people are the head of the industry. So it's not just a tool. That's what you have to be careful about.
You mentioned Facebook and a lot of social networks a lot. You haven't mentioned much about LinkedIn. LinkedIn has 74% of all business people in the United States on it right now. And I've been involved with most of these social things, and it blows everything away in terms of business involvement. And so
absolutely, and I agree, but I think that it's, again, part of your strategy. If how many of these do you want to use? Is LinkedIn the right tool for you? LinkedIn is great for business owners to be checking out, profiles of people, prospective candidates. It's also great, by the way, for groups. If you're in groups, you get a lot of information that way too. So again, each one of these social media channels have different values. But we're talking about search right now. So that's why Twitter is part of that mix, because it is a search engine. Above all else, it's a live search engine. That's why it's getting a lot of the attention. But LinkedIn has a search engine within its platform. Okay? This is a live search engine that... And the same thing, you can argue that same argument for MySpace, that if you wanted, the MySpace has advertising and all kinds of stuff, and if you're in the entertainment and the music business, you want to be there. You have to be where your audience is. That's why you start with a strategy. Where are your audience? If they're all financial analysts, where are they going to be? Are they going to be in LinkedIn yet? Or is that a population that you may need to look at a vertical? So that, again, it starts with that premise.
Most of us are probably small business people. Can you just give us an idea, if you were to say, okay, I think this is a great idea, and I want to keep my website up, what you should be budgeting approximately, sort of, what would be sort of an entry-level number, and what would be a big number? Just to give us something.
I think it depends on whether you're selling a product or if you're a promotional website. I would say
basically, that... Somebody who's going to help you keep your website up to speed.
Well... You're talking, actually, there are two different things. There's ongoing maintenance for this social media stuff, and I think that's where, you may need somebody in your organization to keep up the content, because content really does change all the time, and you want somebody to do that. So to make an investment for a website, to have the website be right, you need to do all the marketing research first. So I would say you're looking, as a business for a promotional site, I would say you're looking somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000. It's not that cheap, because you have to have someone coordinating and doing all of this for you. And then it might be as little as $500 a month up to thousands a month, depending on what kind of marketing you want to keep up with. If you're e-commerce, I'd say the number starts higher if you're e-commerce, because you need an e-commerce website. And the website for e-commerce, good e-commerce, has both the content, as I was saying, so it's also a regular website, plus it has a whole back end that you need to budget for. And that depends on your product, the competition, the position in the market, how much dollars you have to be a player. Again, if you're in the insurance business, you want to do pay-per-click, we can tell you, if you want to be a player, here's what you have to spend. If you're not going to spend that money, you're not going to be on page one in that particular engine. Can you do other things? Absolutely. There's always a way.
Number one here, you said sign up for a Twitter account as a company. Is LinkedIn an individual or corporate entity registration?
It's mostly, LinkedIn you can have a personal profile in LinkedIn, and I believe you can have a corporate.
Yes, so
So you have both. I would take that in Twitter as well. I would take a private account, because it's free. Take your name, and then you can take your corporate name if you can get it. I mean, if somebody has taken it already, let's say you're Metro West something and somebody else already has it, and a lot of people on Twitter have like what I call stage names. They don't really have their real name, so they've kind of changed their name. But the corporation, if you Dell, you take Dell. I mean, Dell is on there. All the major corporations are there. Adweek, I mean.
How does copyrights work with Twitter? In other words,
There's no vetting process. They're just starting that now. So it's a cowboy. It's Wild West.
you can kick them off, though, if you have a copyright on your name, right?
Well, I just did a whole thing yesterday on copywriting. Yeah, maybe. So I don't know. I mean, you need to talk to the IP legal people for that, because it's very muddy. It's very muddy what it is. So it's still, this is not a Google yet. So as we said, it is a search engine, so you can do keyword searches in that platform for all kinds of information. And the information is really good quality information in a lot of cases. We're not talking about the person that's telling you what they ate for breakfast yesterday or anything like that, or following those kinds of people. So keep that in mind. It's really for more professional stuff.